Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our final World Cup recap. I almost called it a World Cap recap. World Cap Recup 2021. I'm gonna keep that part in, doesn't even matter. It's been crazy. July 12th to August 5th, nearly a full month of chess, 90 countries, hundreds of players represented in Sochi, Russia. We survived a positive COVID test and a scare to finish the event with no problems, and after today we will know who is the third and fourth place finisher, as well as who is the champion. I got nothing else to say. Here we go. We'll talk about future plans of the channel after. Let's begin. E4 and Fedosеев plays C6. Magnus Carlsen probably knew this, but still spent 5 minutes and 30 seconds on his second move. That's interesting. D4, D5, E5. Magnus, obviously a proud owner. Okay, I'm not going to say he's a proud owner of the Gotham course, but the advanced variation is one of the most challenging variations against the Caro-Kann. Fedosеев plays bishop to f5, and now there are two main lines here. Knight f3, bishop e2, and h4. This is the modern treatment to try to play g4 and take as much space, kick the bishop. Magnus plays c4. Now, c4 and then e6 is it's not really like not popular. Sorry, it's not really not good. It's fine. It's just not super popular. Knight c3, and there's a lot of moves here for black. Basically, generally, black puts the knights like this, but Fedosеев plays bishop b4, which is the fourth most popular move in the position and kind of tries to just put a little bit of pressure on the knight. Queen b3 here is very standard, putting counter pressure on b4 and then back there. And here Magnus plays a move that's never been played. That's slightly incorrect, but almost never been played. And after after queen takes d5, knight e2, we have a position that's never happened. So super rare move, like no games at top level, and now we have this position. Obviously he can't take the queen, but he's trying to reinforce the knight, maybe play a3, take like this. Queen goes back, which is a weird move. Like, you would think knight e7 would happen. I guess what Fedosеев kind of thought about is that a3 is going to happen anyway. He's going to have to take, and then he's going to have to leave. So just leave a3, and he's going to keep the bishop. That's his whole point. So knight g3 attacks the bishop over there. The bishop is protected, and Magnus develops his bishop. Nothing complicated. Now Fedosеев, rather than castling and just committing to giving this bishop away, tries to save the bishop. Magnus is like, okay, well, h4, because now I want to play h5, obviously. So black has to respond with the h-pawn. He responds by playing h6, and Magnus plays h5 and bishop h7, just taking as much space as possible, just kicking the bishop all the way back. And now Magnus plays a really nice move. He plays queen g4. Shows you the power of the queen. It attacks g7. It defends the center still from the queen over there. Now, short castle here does guard g7, but it stops guarding another pawn. It stops guarding the pawn on h6 because now it's pinned, and after bishop h6, black resigns. That is not how the game ended. I'm simply showing you that you cannot castle. So king f8, which is a big commitment. I mean, you either have to play king f8, you either have to play king f8, rook g8, or give this pawn away. It is very difficult to give that pawn away. Here, there's this hilarious move, bishop f5, and if queen g7, your queen gets trapped, which would be, well, not quite trapped, but from here, black takes on d4 and you get destroyed. So bishop f5 would have indirectly guarded the g7 pawn like this, and Fedosеев didn't go for that, instead going for king f8 and knight d7, but now he can't castle. So Magnus moves this knight out of harm's way, rendering this bishop kind of useless because it doesn't have a target anymore. So Fedosеев brings it back, and Magnus brings back his own bishop. Why? He doesn't want to get hit with tempo. Plus, bishop a2 is a flexible move, and now you just leave the board and let your opponent think for like 20 minutes, because really, what do you do? Fedosеев plays knight f5, logical move. Magnus takes. Wait, what? Isn't there this? No. How do you protect this threat? Bonus question. Didn't happen in the game, but how do you protect? If takes, then mate. That's called tactical defense. It's when you protect the threat. You basically leave it open, but you can't do it because of a tactic. So that's why Fedosеев goes here. Now the queen moves out of the way. Queen e7. Let me go counter the bishop's pressure on my knight by moving the knight. And now Magnus plays a really annoying move. He just goes back. You know what his plan is? You know what Magnus's plan is? Magnus has a plan hidden in this whole position. Not hidden, but to the untrained eye, it's kind of hidden. It has nothing to do with his queen, his knight, his bishop. No, he has one plan. One plan and one plan only. Do you know what it is? I'm going to give you a hint. Pawn storm. King over here, rook over here, f4, f5. That is how you create an attack. You need to send the little soldiers first. System of a Down, why'd they always send the poor? Yeah, well, there you go. c5. This is the way that Fedoseev wants to fight back. Now Magnus defends against this with another tactical threat. Tactical defense, tactical threat. Bishop d2. Look at that move. If pawn takes pawn, bishop b4, black resigns. Oops. So, well, not quite resigns, but your knight gets paralyzed forever, and then you're going to lose over there in the long run. So, rook d8. f4. Knight b6. And now, you don't want Fedoseev to take with the rook, and you still don't care about pawn takes because bishop b4, so bishop c3. The knight comes in, and Magnus is like, I don't care if you take, and I also don't care about a fork. f5. I like spoons more, so how about that? Why doesn't he care? Well, if you play knight e3, which is what was played in the game, Magnus just goes back to f3. He's like, come and take my rook. Come and take my rook. Magnus understands that that rook is not worth that much. That knight is worth a lot, because now black is left with a bunch of pieces that cannot stop the f-file from opening, at which point black's position will fall apart. So for that reason, Fedoseev takes the pawn instead, and for a very brief moment, stops the attack. Now, folks, it's move 26. Can we count the amount of times that bishop has ended up on f5? First of all, it was there on move 5, right? Second of all, it was there on move 17, and then it went back to h7 a few moves later. And now it's there again on move 26. So that bishop is just slingshotting back and forth, all that time being wasted. d5. If you would like to attack your opponent, you need to close the center. That is a closing of the center. E takes d5 impossible because of this. So bishop b6, and a few moves later, d6. Fedoseev's in trouble. This is like the little sibling trying to punch you and you push them on the head. You're like, ha ha ha, you can't get close. Queen h4, b3. Stable. Rook d7, queen back to e2. What's Magnus planning? I don't know. We're about to find out. I'll let him do it. Queen g4, right? Rook takes f5. That bishop that you spent moving back and forth the whole game, look at that. Now, here's the problem. Queen f5 was played in the game. If queen e2, bishop e2, pawn takes f5, looks like black is happy. But this position is just winning for white. You just can't guard white's threats. Like, white can do anything. Bishop b5, bishop c4. This is just torture for black, because here's the thing. Even if you waste the move and black tries to play, like, for example, g6, then after takes, and bishop c4, you open everything up and black is just getting smashed. This is just a completely lost position. Rook d1, e6. This bishop is just a pawn in disguise. It's the imposter in Among Us. So queen f5. And finally, look, anytime you have a very big attack brewing on your opponent, you are always going to have a tactical knockout, and Magnus spots it. Rook takes f7. King f7, check. So he's a full rook down. Actually, he's down 2 rooks for 1 bishop. Fedoseev has a 6-point material advantage. 2 rooks for a bishop. Queen back to f5. Now here, Magnus repeats moves to make the time control. He gets to move 40 to get the bonus time. And then here he finds, boop, if rook d6, queen f7 is mate. The threat, though, is actually much worse than that. It's takes, and you are in a cage. The king cannot escape this cage. Black can play bishop d8, and black can try to move the h-pawn, but the rook cannot get activated either. He tries. Rook cannot get activated. He doesn't let the rook activate, and if you play h3, I just take with the pawn. Magnus then promptly shuts down the play on the queen side, and Fedoseev resigns. He has no moves. This is absolutely disgusting, and Magnus Carlsen should be investigated for murder. Let's move on to the finals. Sergei Karyakin with the black pieces, Jan Krzysztof Duda, the Polish Grandmaster, Polish #1. Congratulations to Magnus on 3rd place, but my God. Children are watching, Magnus. Duda begins with d4. Knight f6, and we have a very, very standard and popular position. Yesterday, Duda played dc4, the Vienna. But very popular nowadays is c5, semi-Tarrasch. cd5, and online recently we've seen a trend for mirroring this capture, not taking back on d5, but mirroring this capture. And we've seen the line queen d4, ed, e4, when there's a big central explosion. And lines get very weird there, like here, 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 here. Like the Super Jams have been playing this recently. But bishop g5 is another way to play this position. And here, white generally plays bishop e2 in castle. Now, Duda here plays a pretty rare move. He plays rook d1, which is super normal. Knight comes and attacks the queen. The queen moves over to a4. Again, isolated pawn positions. What are they all about? The side that's playing against the isolated pawn wants to blockade the d4 square, or the pawn in front, a square in front, trade off pieces, win the pawn. What does the side playing with the isolated pawn want to do? Well, trade it, push it, trade it, get rid of it. Or use the lines around it to create opportunities for your pieces. Because you have a lot of open lines, right? Even though your opponent is targeting it, you can use that as an excuse to target the rest of the board. So it's a very interesting position. Bishop e6, Duda plays bishop b5, targeting the knight. Queen b6. And I think this was following a game Giri versus Yu Yang from like 10 years ago. And I think Anish castled here, if I'm not mistaken. Or maybe didn't play bishop b5. Maybe it was the game, a move before that was their game. Now here, Duda takes on f6. Very natural. Takes back. Knight takes d5. Very natural. Bishop d5, rook d5, bishop b2. Okay. And at this point, you would expect that white castles, black probably brings the bishop back to f6, or maybe trades the rook, and white spends this game playing 4 on 3 while having a 1 on 2, and white is a little bit better, and game goes on. And here, Duda played one of the most savage and gangster moves I have ever seen in my damn life. Anarchy chess, what did he play? Jan Krzysztof pulled out a lighter, pulled out his bong, lit it, and took a hit. He played king to e2. Are you kidding me? And rook d1. It's like he castled, but instead of castling, opted to put his king on e2. Are you kidding me? Sergei plays rook c8. Bishop back to c4. And now we see why white is always a little bit better in these positions. You got this target on f7. It's looking kind of nice. You have opportunities to maybe create an attack down the middle. Queen b4. Sergei wants to trade queens. Duda says, on my terms, we're trading queens. I'm not taking and opening up attacks on my pieces. I want to play queen b3. So that when you take, I can drop back with the bishop. And now look at white's position. White has everything you want, except the king's not on g1. You have doubled rooks, right? You have potential to play e4, e5, or g4, g5, and rook d7. Oh, that's looking nice. And the rook covers knight a5, so you can put the knight on a5. Rook b5, rook d7's on the way. Now, you would think this is very easy. Black just solves all the problems by going here. No. Rook d7. That is why the king is on e2, stabilizing this rook, and you are pressuring everybody. If takes, pigs on the 7th. That rook is going to feast on the pawns. That doesn't help. So now Sergei's thinking, he's like, knight b8. Is Sergei setting up the board for the next World Cup? Because there's no more games if he loses. Is he setting up the board to come back? And there it is. Now we see the point. h4, h5, g6. It's on the way. It is coming. It's there. You can't stop it. G6, you could run. You can't hide though. It's coming. You can't even go back to G7. Because then I would butcher you with knight h4. And my threat is that I will take this. You will take, I will go rook d7. It's over. It's over. You will get made. It's over. Have I not made myself clear? So he has to go back to e7. But we keep chugging along. Now the knight's got to come back to c6. And now he ends it in style. Rook d7. If you take my rook on e5, I take and you're dead because you can't guard your bishop at f7. Look at this. Knight a5. Bishop to d5. Now he could have played this move to remove this guard. He could have played it. Chooses to go here. Rook c7. Kaboom. If rook takes bishop, rook takes d8. So he goes here. Rook 3, bishop takes, bishop d5. 30 moves. Sergey resigns. We have a World Cup champion. Congratulations, young Krzysztof Duda, on a masterclass. He played 18 games in the World Cup. He went undefeated. I think he won like 13 draws. Are you kidding me? He beat Karyakin, world champion contender, 2016. He beat Magnus Carlsen. He beat Alexander Grishuk. Are you kidding me? Who else did he beat? I'm going to go look it up. Sam Sevian, Puya Idzani, one of the strongest players from Iran, and Guillermo Vasquez, 25-30 rated IM, should be a grandmaster from Paraguay. Are you kidding me? How many games did he win? 1, 2, hold on, I'm going to look it up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 wins, 11 draws. Poland, stand up. I hope the Polish people are hyped. This is a massive accomplishment, biggest accomplishment in Polish chess history. They're saying this on social media. I hope this means great things for Poland. Congratulations to JKD. And that's the World Cup, folks. There it is. Congratulations to the champions, Alexander Kosteniuk and young Krzysztof Duda. I'm going to try to have Kosteniuk on my podcast. Yes, I have a podcast, the Gotham City podcast. I've invited her. Hopefully she accepts the invitation. What are our future plans? I am going to try to take a break from these recaps. I'm sure you like them, but they get a little bit dry. So we're going to go back to making some opening content. We're going to go back to doing the Win It Chess episodes. I'm thinking of doing a speed run, Gambit style. I'm thinking of just, if there's something you want to see, if there is a concept of a video that you haven't seen yet, or I haven't made yet, let me know in the comments below. Once again, thank you all for your support so much. I feel like this is the end of an era, end of a chapter. These past few weeks we've enjoyed. I've been trying to come back here every day through good things in life and through bad things in life. It's been crazy. It's been absolutely nuts. And thank you all once again for your support. Pretty short recap for today. And I will see you in the next video. Get out of here.